everybody. It's a very sad day, and glad we paid our respects. It's a tough situation. Great people, great parents, wives, family, and a beautiful ceremony. I guess you got to see that, at least partially. Any questions?
President Trump, did what you just witnessed make you think differently about going ahead with this war or even putting troops on the ground in the Middle East?
We're winning the war by a lot. We've decimated their whole evil empire. It'll continue, I'm sure, for a little while. But very proud of the people, the parents. The parents were so proud of their boy, as they call him, my boy, in case the young lady. The parents are so proud. Many of them are military parents, as you know. So but it's always a very sad thing. The war itself is going unbelievably. It's as good as it can be. We have Pete here, and you have Steve Witkoff here. We have some additional questions.
You're 1 week in now, sir. You're 1 week in at this point. How long, as of now, do you expect?
Well, I think we've accomplished more in 1 week than anyone thought possible. We've wiped out their Navy, 44 ships. We've wiped out their Air Force, every plane. We've wiped out most of their missiles. You see, the missiles aren't coming much anymore. We've also hit their manufacturing areas where they make the missiles very hard. Their drone capacity is way down. And we've hurt them where it hurts, including about every form of leadership you can have, we've wiped out.
You still expect up to 6 weeks total?
I don't know. I never reject that, whatever it takes. But the military is almost non-existent, if you look. We could hit the military itself very hard, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. We haven't made that determination.
What do you think about gas prices? Gas prices right now? Are you worried about gas prices right now?
No. This is a short excursion into something that should have been done for 47 years. 47 years it's taken to do this, and no president had the guts to do it.
You worried you're going to end up coming back to Dover for more of these such dignified transfers?
Sure, I hate to do it, but it's a part of war, isn't it? Who are you with?
The Washington Post.
Would you say it's part of war?
The deaths are part of war, yeah.
Yeah, it's part of war. It's a sad part of war. It's the bad part of war.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran.
Can you give us an
Because
idea?
they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
Can you give us an idea of what unconditional surrender looks like to you? I mean, what do you want from Iran?
I said unconditional, not conditional. I said unconditional. It's where they cry uncle, or when they can't fight any longer and there's nobody around to cry uncle. That could happen too, because we've wiped out their leadership numerous times already. So it's if they surrender, or if there is nobody around to surrender, but they're rendered useless in terms of military.
Mr. President, can I ask you what Peter asked you a question yesterday? He said it wasn't the right time in that event, but he was asking whether you have indications of whether Russia is supporting Iran somehow in this.
No, I haven't had that. I have had no indication of that whatsoever. If they are, they're not doing a very good job, because Iran is not doing too well.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? There's no traffic really going through it.
Well,
right
that's the ship's choices, but we haven't cleaned out. We've wiped out their Navy. The Navy is now at the bottom of the sea, so that's the choice. This is an excursion. We figured oil prices would go up, which they will. They'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth. We will have taken out a cancer. Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So what we're doing is a great thing, not only for our country and not only for Israel, not only for the Middle East, but for the world.
Secretary Bessent announced some moves to temporarily allow certain Russian oil sales to India. Are you considering any other moves, including the SPR?
Well, if there were some, I would do it just to take a little of the pressure off. But I think that the oil pressure, but there's a lot of oil. We've got a lot of oil. Our country has a tremendous amount, and there's a lot of oil out there. That'll get healed very quickly.
Would you consider using the SPR or tapping into the SPR at some point?
Strategic reserve.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one that built them up. Biden used them so that he could get some extra votes in the election. It turned out it wasn't even him that ran. It was Kamala. And she obviously didn't get any extra votes because we won in an absolute landslide. So he should have used it for that. He used it I filled it up, and he brought it down to the lowest level it's ever been. We will start at the appropriate time, which is basically a gut instinct. We will start filling up these strategic reserves.
What are the circumstances where you'd send in ground troops? How are you thinking about that?
I don't even want to talk about it now. I mean, that's. I don't think it's an appropriate question. I'm not going to answer it. Could there be? Possibly, for very good reason. Have to be very good reason. And I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated that they wouldn't be able to fight at the ground level.
Are you thinking about the oil facility there? There's an oil facility kind of on the coast of Iran that could be secured by ground troops. There's been some speculation that could be a target.
I don't know what the speculation is, but I certainly wouldn't be able to tell you that. I'd be in trouble with myself if I told you that.
Mr. President, don't you need ground troops to secure the enriched uranium at the nuclear sites?
We're going to find out about that. We haven't talked about it, but it was a total obliteration. They haven't been able to get to it. And at some point, maybe we will. That'd be a great thing. But right now, we're just decimating them. But we haven't gone after it. But something we could do later on. We wouldn't do it now. Maybe we'd do it later on.
You said you want to be involved in the selection of the next leader of Iran. Can you talk to me?
Well, because I don't want to just come back every 10 years. And mostly you'll have presidents, that won't do that because they don't get it. But we don't want to come back every 5 years or every 10 years and do this. So we want to pick a president that's not going to be leading their country into a war. Do you have any questions for Pete or Steve? Come on up.
Mr. Wickoff,
Steve, come on up.
Mr. Wickoff, is there still space to do a deal with whatever is left of the Iranian government?
I think there is. I think that's going to be up to the president. That's what I think. But they didn't seem to be very amenable in those first set of negotiations. You heard what I said. They said we have the inalienable right to enrich. They bragged about having 60% enriched fuel, enough for 11 bombs. And they told me and Jared, we're not going to give you diplomatically what you couldn't take militarily. So, I think they're going to need a change of attitude.
What sort of thing do you want to see in a deal? I mean, do you think you have maximum negotiating leverage at this point?
I think the president has proved that we have.
Iran today accused the U.S.
We've
of
got a lot of negotiating leverage, maybe maximum, but we're not looking to settle. They'd like to settle. We're not looking to settle.
Iran accused
The British government has now offered use of the British government has offered use of some bases now, and you had previously said you were very disappointed in them.
Aircraft carriers.
I mean, about British bases, they
See
said.
my response that I just put out? I just put out a response. Give me the offer to send 2 aircraft carriers. Maybe, but they're not sure. I just put out a response to it. I said, we don't need them. It's not the right time. It would have been nice to have had them 2 weeks ago, but the response I put out, I think, says it very well for you.
Iran today accused the U.S. of hitting a desalination plant in Iran. And they said that might open the door to other strikes on infrastructure, non-military.
Allow us to also open the door to other strikes against them.
Look, in response to that allegation, did the U.S. hit the desalination?
They are among the most evil people ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th. Take a look at what they've done over the last 47 years. So I know nothing about a desalinization plant other than to say, if they're complaining about a desalinization plant, we complain about the fact that they shouldn't be chopping babies' heads off, okay?
Mr. Zukov, have you communicated to the Russians not to send targeting information and other assistance to the Iranians?
Strongly said that.
And do you believe that they are?
I hope they're not.
Do you see any evidence?
We don't know, but it's not doing very well. If they are, it's not helping much. If you take a look at what's happened to Iran in the last week, if they're getting information, it's not helping them much.
What would it mean to you if they were? I mean, even if it's not helping the Iranians particularly much, it's still involving themselves in a conflict that they're not directly.
They'd say we do it against them, wouldn't they? Huh? Wouldn't they say that? We do it against them? I don't know. Look, they can give all the information that they want, but the people they're sending it to are overwhelmed. Russia would be overwhelmed too. Anybody would be overwhelmed. We have the greatest military on earth, and I built it in my first term, and unfortunately, I'm forced to use it now. But when you look at what we did with Venezuela, when you look at what we did with the B-2 bombers, that was a very big moment because Iran was going to have a nuclear weapon within 2 or 3 weeks, and that stopped it, and it stopped it cold. And you ask about maybe going back and getting that, something could happen at the right time.
Is Iran running out of missiles and drones, or do you expect those counterattacks to continue with everything?
Not only that, manufacturing capability also. We've hit the manufacturing very hard. They're at about 9% of what they sent out in the first 2 days, and we think that's because they don't have that much. We've knocked out about 70% of the launchers. The launchers are a big deal. Very hard to get, very expensive.
I want to talk about leverage. With every passing day, we have more and more leverage because we have more and more capabilities. We're hitting them harder and harder, and they have less of an ability to defend themselves. So we're pressing the offensive every single day, creating all the leverage the president needs for the outcome he wants.
So it sounds like you think they're running out of water, both of the drones and
I
the
think
missiles.
when you look, they're sending in much less drones. They're being decimated. Now, at some point, I don't think there'll be anybody left maybe to say we surrender, but they're being decimated. And when you look also, all of a sudden they apologized to the Middle Eastern states that they shot at them. I was very surprised to see they did that, but you mark that down as a victory for us and for the Middle Eastern states who are really friends of ours. But I guess they're not going to be shooting at them anymore. They apologized, and we'll see what happens. But that's a big loss. That's a surrender right there. I called it a surrender today. When they apologized and said they're not shooting at them anymore, that's really a surrender to those states and to us. Okay, anything else?
Some Iranians are concerned that the Kurds will carve out kind of an autonomous region as they did in Syria and Iraq.
We're not looking to the Kurds going in. We're very friendly with the Kurds, as you know, but we don't want to make the war any more complex than it already is. No.
You ruled that out?
We don't want, I have ruled it out. I don't want the Kurds going in. I don't want to see the Kurds get hurt, get killed. We've had a good relation. They're willing to go in, but I've told them I don't want them to go in.
Do you think the map of Iran will look the same?
The war is complicated enough without getting the Kurds involved.
And do you think the map of Iran looks the same after this is all done?
That I can't tell you. Probably not.
Do you know if any shipping companies have taken the U.S. up on its offer of insurance to go through the Strait of Hormuz?
No, we have it set up. We have a great insurance and reinsurance system, but I don't.
Sorry, when you talk about
When this ends, we're going to have a much safer world, you know that. So, this is a minor excursion, but when this ends, we're going to have a much safer world, and we will have gotten rid of a lot of sick and demented people, the leadership. So we got rid of the one leadership, then we got rid of the second level of leadership. Now they're on their third or fourth level of leadership, and they have leaders right now that nobody even knows who they are. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Well, welcome one and all to this fabulous Saturday evening. I want to get right into some stuff with you. Welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm David Snedeker. This is the Indoctrination, and things are going to be very interesting tonight. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you tonight. I had to move my studio around a bit, so bear with me here. I'm a little off kilter because I had to move some stuff because this is one of the final nights in the Sned shed here in Dripping Springs, Texas. And I just wanted to let you know that because I'm going to have a temporary studio for about a month and a half. And then I'm going to be into the new studio, which I'm really excited about introducing you to, and also the property that I'll be on. So, my friends, let me get right into what's been happening here just very recently. We're going to talk about a little bit about the war tonight. Let me kind of take you through what we're going to be doing. First off, happy Saturday night. I hope your life is good. I hope that your health is solid. And if not, that you're moving in the proper direction towards, being healthy, because we have a transformation happening in our world right now. This transformation is unlike anything humanity has ever seen. This is a very, very, very exciting time to be alive. And if you're struggling to get out of bed in the morning because rent's due, the mortgage is due, and you're short on that, and you're low on money, you're having problems with your family because they're not awake, or they don't see things the way you do, or they're not thinking critically, they've been caught in the indoctrination. If you're struggling through life right now, I just want to say this. This struggle is temporary. And we are about to enter a world that is infinite, that is boundless, that is sovereign. This is the direction we're heading. Do I know this because of President Trump? Partly. Do I know this because of Q? Partly. But what is the main reason that I say this so convincingly and so emphatically? Because you and I, are now awake to the indoctrination. We have been spending years exposing the indoctrination, which is the mechanism in which they have enslaved humanity. Education, medication, vaccination, incarceration. Every step of our lives, they have been controlling our minds. No more. For we are awake. And by being awake, we will no longer fall prey to their mechanisms of control, their mechanisms of debt slavery, their mechanisms of poor health, poisoning our skies, our water, our food. No longer will we fall prey to those mechanisms of human control. That is a very, very exciting reality that you and I are now a part of. Not only are we a part of it, but we can wake up in the morning and we can say, I went on Facebook, I went on YouTube, I went on X, I went on TikTok, I went on Instagram, and I shared stories, I shared interviews, I shared information, I shared receipts that are awakening people every single day. You and I are not only alive during this very auspicious time in human history, but you and I are actively engaged in this information war to shatter the indoctrination. I don't know about you, but when I think about that, when I pray about that, when I read about that, when I dig into that, it excites me. It fuels me for my day. It fuels me for my shows. It fuels me for my posts. It fuels me for my interactions with others. It's fabulous. Cheers, my friends, to you, to our future, to our sovereignty, to our beautiful, beautiful new world that we are in the process of creating every single moment of every single day. Cheers to you. I got a little water. I got a little scotch, which I had a little bit with my friend who just returned from down under, and we got together and broke bread and spoke of the excitement. I was very touched to hear him talk about his excitement about maybe having children one day. We have a whole generation that doesn't want to have children because they've been indoctrinated into the fake climate change narrative. I did a show from the beach that I called Pigtail Propaganda. And I used Greta Thunberg as the example of this story that they were pushing forward to make us believe that carbon in our atmosphere is bad. You and I are carbon beings. So if you believe that, and you believe in the overpopulation narrative, which is absolutely absurd, is New York overpopulated? Yes. Is LA maybe? Yes. Chicago, Tokyo, London, maybe these little parts of the world are overpopulated. But if you fly over the United States of America, there's nothing but farmland and open land and trees and valleys and mountains. Folks, we could fit everybody into the state of Texas and each have everybody in the world and each have 1,000 square feet of living space. That's not overpopulation. That is the agenda to make a whole generation of people think that having more children is bad. The pigtail propaganda of climate change is the ultimate population control. It is the ultimate eugenics model. Because if they can keep people from wanting to have children, which they've done very effectively, breaking up the families, making it so that women and men both have to work just to afford their it's getting a little warm in here under the lights, my friends. So I'm going to disrobe a bit. Don't get excited. This is where it ends. This is where it ends. Maybe I'll show you a little solo flex moment, but maybe not. So the gun show is open, my friends. The Small Arms gun show is open. Welcome to the Sned Shed, my friends. This is one of the last shows from this space, if not the last. Actually, it may be the last, because I'm not going to do a show probably tomorrow night, and I'm probably not going to do a show Monday night, because I'll be doing my final move. If you want to support my move, please do so. It is much appreciated, much needed, not just to keep the lights on, but to afford the lights in the new home. And so please support if you can. If you cannot, you are the reason that I have done over 1,600 shows for free. So, my friends, tonight's show, I want to get right into what's happening in Iran right now. It is, this is from 0 Hour. Let me share this with you right now. This is, Iran just threw everything at Israel, and everything was intercepted by Israel. Let me take you back. You're watching precision military in action. Now, that was what Iran threw at Israel. This is what is happening. The Bazij station in Tehran is seen burning tonight. Instead of fear, people gather around it. They sang, they danced, they celebrated. For many Iranians, the Bazij is not just police, it's the regime's enforcement arm. People in Iran are celebrating, my friends. They're absolutely celebrating. This is Iran's largest oil depot. Look at that. Wow.
نابود کرد.
Wow. Wow. Powerful. Powerful. This is that same location, I believe. Look at that. Okay. The streets of Iran are on fire because the oil is flowing into the sewers and the streets of Iran. This is not seen as an invasion by those in Iran. This is seen as a victory. Israel has just reportedly struck 30 Iranian oil storage tanks. Now you see the rest of Iran, you see the rest of Tehran. If we were bombing civilians, I would not be celebrating this. If we weren't systematically taking out their leadership that is oppressive to women, that is oppressive to growth, that is oppressive to capitalism, that is oppressive to everyday Iranians thriving. That's what I'm celebrating. The fact that we are affecting China in the way we are by cutting off 20% of their oil supplies. That is exciting, considering what China has done to us with COVID, with unfair trade practices for decades, for general infiltration of our government and of our country. This was Bill Maher, which President Trump demolished just very recently.
This statement from the administration: the president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
Totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
Well,
this statement.
You know, we haven't seen much from Adam Schiff. Honestly, I kind of miss him making a fool of himself. So this is wonderful. Now this is what I'm talking about in terms of this oppressive regime. To all defenders, this is from George Padzurski, okay? To all defenders of the mullahs and international law experts, the Iranian Atefa Sahila, 16, which I touched on last night, I spoke of her last night, was publicly hanged because she had reported her multiple rapes. Before that, she had been arrested several times and each time sentenced to 100 lashes. This woman, this girl, 16 years old, was raped repeatedly.
यार मेरे को तो बंदी भी खोलोगे जिसमें तो मैं बंदी भी खोलोगे अभी और बनाता
I can't continue to watch this, but look at all these men standing around watching this. And let me tell you something. I have nothing but love for the Iranian people, but I have no love for these men that are standing around that are a part of this culture that treats women in the way that they treat women. This is not okay. This is not okay by any stretch of the imagination, right? And it's got to stop. Okay. This is more footage out of Tehran. Again, they've crippled their infrastructure, their war infrastructure. Okay. Iran hit Saudi Arabia's oil refinery. Now it's fuck around and find out time. This is from Matt, XRP Patriot. Israel reportedly just destroyed 30 Iranian oil storage tanks, and a major refinery in Tehran is completely up in flames. Numerous videos showing the aftermath of U.S. strikes on Iranian oil depots in Tehran, Iran. This is essentially a direct hit on China now. Oil is about to skyrocket. Now, don't forget, my friends, this is none of this could be done if it were not for the attack that President Trump did on the Iranian nuclear facility that was funded and by Obama and supported with uranium through the Uranium One deal with Obama and Hillary Clinton. None of this could take place because one of those nukes would have been sent to Iran. Now, this isn't just President Trump doing Israel's bidding, anything but. This is President Trump making the world a safer place, as they said on their page.
یکی دیگه. یکی دیگه.
This was Obama not too very long ago, bowing to the Ayatollah, bowing to the Iranian Ayatollah. This is the difference in leadership, and this is the difference in infiltration of our nation at the highest levels. This is so very, very exciting to see this all taking place. Okay. This is U.S. and Israeli missiles striking Tehran.
المطار دخل المطار المطار مدخل ولا لا المطار المطار مدخل لا المطار ده يمنع تحرك 200 المطار يا رب الله يا يا الله يو يا قرب الله
يا ابوي وصلنا الطلق.
Again, this is precision. Okay. They tried to blame the bombing of a school on the U.S., and it turns out it was an Iranian misfire.
Next to us here, they're coming down. One just about, we got to go inside.
وين اخوي؟ انت كيف؟ ايوه ايه مالك؟ اليمين كامل
נפילות אחי, נפילות של החיים בנבטים.
So time after time after time, this is in Baghdad, Iraq. America's CRAM system firing back at reported drone and missile fire near the U.S. Embassy. This is Eric Doherty. Pretty intense stuff going on right now, my friends. And man, oh man, is it beautiful. This is Iran and Trump saying not fast enough. Great post by Speak the Magroin. Now, check this out. This is very interesting, and I wanted to share this with you. I listened to it twice today. Check this out.
And I'm saying to you, if you look at the world of money, you would see the writing is on the wall. That the Bretton Woods Accord is collapsing. It has already collapsed. And a new international monetary system is around the corner, in which the US dollar will disappear. And when the US dollar crashes, the American economy will crash with it. I want to suggest to you that the September 11 attack on America bears an uncanny similarity to the terrorist attack of the summer of 1914. And that the events which are now unfolding in the world, the attack on Afghanistan, the attack on Iraq, the new American imperium that is taking over the world, are all meant to serve one mission, to pave the way for the state of Israel to wage a big war. And as a consequence of that big war that Israel is going to wage, the territory of the state of Israel is going to dramatically expand to encompass the biblical frontiers of Israel, of the Holy Land. Bible says, from the river of Egypt to the river Euphrates. That's not true. The Holy Land does not exist from the river of Egypt to the river Euphrates. That is false. But it's there in the Bible. They put it in. And so Israel has to wage a big war which will dramatically expand the territory of the state so that Israel will control the Suez Canal. And Israel will control the oil of the Gulf tomorrow. And there will be a concomitant attack on the US dollar. And the US dollar collapses. And when it collapses, it will bring down the whole world of paper money with it. When Israel wages that big war, I expect that Israel will unleash weapons of warfare we've never seen before. And at the end of it, Israel will take over from the United States as a new ruling state in the world. But Israel cannot wage that war while still there are any significant obstacles in the way. And now put on your thinking caps. Which is the most significant obstacle which still stands in the way of Israel waging her big war? And it is Pakistan's nuclear weapons capacity. And coupled with that is Iran's missile capacity. And so all the hullabaloo we're going through now, all the maneuverings on the chessboard of the world, when Israel wages that big war and replaces the United States as the ruling state in the world, the first ruling state was Britain. The second ruling state was the United States. The third and the last would be this imposter, the state of Israel. I am suggesting to you that Dajjal, or the Antichrist, would now have completed stage 2, a day which is like a month, and would be commencing stage 3, a day which is like a week, meaning a much shorter period of time. It is at this time that terrorism reaches its climax. They have declared that they're going to continue killing all those who dare to lift their hands against the state of Israel. This is the biggest terrorist of all in the world. But CNN will never tell you that.
So what he's alluding to is that there's a greater thing going on here that we are not aware of, and I want to back that up with John Kirikow, who is a former CIA, and listen to what he has to say on this.
This is going to be a little blip, a temporary blip. Oh, listen, the Israelis. The pro-Israel lobby, mostly in the form of AIPAC, is so entrenched in American politics, American society, American culture, that the relationship isn't changing at all. It's only because of the likes of Tucker Carlson, people with large followings out there speaking truth and talking about what America first really means, that might make a difference. People are they're gonna say, oh, well, that Ehud Barak, well, first of all, he's a has-been. Secondly, that was a long time ago. It's almost 10 years ago. And it's not Netanyahu. Netanyahu's the one in charge now. That's going to be the reaction.
But the public is so aware of some of these things, though, now, because of many people on the left and right.
Yes.
It's a very bipartisan thing.
Very much so, yes.
And so you think even in this kind of year, it would be a blip if we found out that had some sort of confirmation that the most prolific known public pedophile, spy dude, arms dealer, trilateral commission person, Coney Island resident, was running a Mossad honeypot operation with all the above and money laundering. We could just move on from that?
They didn't care for more than a few weeks when Jonathan Pollard was caught red-handed, and they were managing the operation from the Israeli defense minister's office.
Rafi Eitan was overseeing it, I believe.
Yeah, right. It didn't matter. And the Israelis hemmed and hawed and then kind of quietly apologized, and everything just kind of roared right back. And I think that's what we're going to see again.
So here's the other thing a lot of people say online, and I understand why they say it, but I have you in the studio right now as someone who used to be in the intelligence community who can speak to this. But people will often say CIA equals Mossad, Mossad equals CIA.
It's just simply not true.
Okay, why is that?
That's a statement made out of ignorance. Yeah.
Now, why do you say that? Because I agree with you from what you've told me, but I'd love for you to explain it to everybody.
Because the Mossad actively spies on the United States. Actively. Yes, we have a close operational relationship with Mossad, but to say we're two peas in a pod like that, absolutely not true. We are with the Brits, the Canadians, the Australians, the New Zealanders, the Five Eyes countries. We have very close relations with several other, NATO countries, but the Israelis, listen, at the CIA, Israel was ranked as critical threat for counterintelligence, along with Russia, China, Cuba, and North Korea. Yeah, the Israelis are not our friends.
Folks, that he's a former CIA agent, which once CIA, I believe always CIA. I've said that many times. But in this manner, I believe he's speaking the truth because he's being asked a direct question. Is the CIA the same as Mossad? Now, they have worked together without question in the past. However, they are told as CIA that Israel is to be considered, the enemy when it comes to information, along with China, Russia, North Korea, and Cuba. Now, if we look at those communist nations, they are against us and always have been. That's why we've never done anything with Cuba. That's why we've never done anything with Venezuela, because of Russia and China and because of weak leadership here in the United States. That's why we've never done anything with North Korea in the past, which Q has told us is CIA controlled. Because China and Russia have always had the backs. Remember when Reagan was trying to, Carter was trying to, get the hostages back from Iran, but he couldn't because of the influence of Russia. And Reagan came in and he didn't care, and neither does Trump, because Trump has Russia and China in capitulation, and is together they were working to take out this cabal.
They actively recruit Americans to spy on Israel's behalf, to betray the United States.
This is AIPAC. This is you cannot be beholden to another country. You must be America first, period, end of story. And that may be going to war elsewhere, and it may be, taking Venezuela, taking Cuba, taking care of the cartels in the Western Hemisphere, as per the Monroe Doctrine, or as Trump calls it, the Monroe Doctrine. Okay. But you cannot be beholden to two countries, and those with dual citizenship with the United States and Israel. Now listen, the Jewish people, I love the Jewish people. But here's the thing. I love people from England, but I am very critical of their government, bearing the rape gang investigations, allowing the just unfettered immigration into the country, not providing safety for the young women of that country. The imperialism, the colonization of many countries that has gone on under the crown, the enslavement of humanity through the central banking with the Rothschilds. I have major problems with England, with UK, and with the City of London, which is the trilateral of Vatican, City of London, and Washington District of Columbia. These three entities are not beholden to common law. They're not beholden to natural law. They're not beholden to the laws of that country, because they are not members of those countries. The Vatican is not a member of Italy. The City of London is not a member, or is not in the confines of England or the UK. And Washington, D.C. is not under control of the United States of America. It wasn't, but it is now under President Trump. So anyway, let John continue.
Now, the people who make those arguments, though, one place where I could see from their lens is when you look at the top of the chain with, say, directors of these agencies who are political appointees. You have a guy like Mike Pompeo, who ran CIA, who could not possibly be more pro-Israel, right?
Not possible to be more pro-Israel than Mike Pompeo.
Yeah. So is it possible that there are some pockets where there is some overlap, but for the most part, as you're saying, the rank and file and people who work at the agencies, they don't really like each other?
Sure. Yeah, it's possible to say that. And, presidents come and go, administrations change, the relationship is fraternal.
Right.
At the working level, it's not so nice.
So, what I was getting at certainly was the fact that I am critical of England, but I love the English. I am critical of the Vatican, but I love Italians. This is not about having a problem with the people. This is about being critical of the government, or the government that has been taken over and controlled by the very people that we are fighting against. Okay. Now, we have been lied to about a great many things. We know that. This is a part of our awakening. Like, we've been lied to about vaccines. We've been lied to about the medical establishment. We've been lied to about the CDC, the WHO. We've been lied to about abortion as being a right versus murder. We've been lied to about, gender affirming care, which is the mutilation of young boys and girls who are confused because they've been confused by the indoctrination. And this is we've been lied to about almost everything. So The biggest problem, and I've been very vocal about this, is not just the Israel lobby and the lobby for Israel being the Holy Land and God's chosen people and God's chosen land and everything, but also just the fact that it is divisive and it is a reason for war. It is a reason for annexation of the West Bank and taking over territory and so forth because of an archaic text of history. But have we been lied to about that? And I've talked a bit about this in the past, but let me share this with you and let's talk about this. Check this out.
Exodus happened in America. Moses grew up in Egypt, the real Egypt. The Nile in Africa does not match the biblical Nile. It flowed into the Egyptian Sea. Look, and it is supposed to have 7 tributaries. The Nile of today does not. And America has much more pyramids. The Bible states that there were over 600,000 military-aged men roaming through Egypt in Exodus, which means there were millions of people if you include the wives, the children, and the elderly. Yet there is no evidence of this in modern-day Egypt. California is depicted as an island in all the older maps, and the California or Baja Sea is called the Red Sea. The Jesuit maps depict California as a peninsula by 1698. California finally looks how it appears on the maps today by the 1770s. California cannot return to its natural state due to all the dams and levees. Egypt is Hamite land. Mitzrayim is a son of Ham. Hamite land stretched from the Mississippi River to the west coast. When Moses split the Red Sea, he was leading the Israelites into California, aka Canaan, the son of Ham. Canaan had 11 sons. Sidon is Sedona. Phoenicians are from Phoenix. Sedona and Phoenix were on the coast of the Red Sea. The Red Sea of today is the Arabian Gulf. Look, the Hittite Canaanites were from Canada, or Canada, as you can see here. These are Hittites. These are Hittites. They will die with the lie that this is their land. After the Israelites cross over the Red Sea, they stop in Elim for water. California has thousands of springs. Then they reach Mount Sinai, which is ironically near Joshua Tree. The first 5 books of the Bible are the books of Moses. Then Joshua takes over after the death of Moses. The Canaanites crossbred with the Nephilim, the fallen angels, which produced the Anakim and Rephaim, which were hybrids. Half giant, half human, like Goliath or King Og. Joshua and the Israelites failed to completely wipe out the giants and Canaanites. Some of these giants and Canaanites were very skilled and had iron chariots. Maybe they were tanks of some sort. And not all of them were evil. The Southwest has recovered the most giant skeletons. Giants are the descendants of the Nephilim or fallen angels, Los Angeles. This giant was found in Southern California and was acknowledged and purchased by the Smithsonian. It was discarded as a fake even though they bought it after scientists examined it. There were dozens of findings, if not hundreds. Look, Western America has the most on Earth. See?
What have we been lied to about?
That's why there was the Isle of Giganti. That's why Ezion Geber means giant backbone. The oldest and tallest cedars are in the northwest. The cedars were sent from King Hiram to Solomon to build the temple. Hiram was up here. It makes sense to float the trees down the Red Sea. This only makes sense in American geography. This doesn't. That's why this was found in Brazil. Cedars in modern Lebanon are too small and too forked for lumber. Look, these are perfect. California has the oldest trees, though one was cut down by mistake, as well as the largest trees on Earth. These are mentioned in Isaiah. Look, do you see? And Hosea. America is the old world. There are no pyramids on African maps until almost 1600.
Doc Holliday, how about that?
So Doc Holliday shared that gentleman. You know, this is the thing about our history. We cannot just question one aspect of our history and not open up a can of worms across all of our history. We have to question everything. We have to demand receipts on everything, because little do we understand that if we are being given a narrative about such things, then we are absolutely being controlled to think one way or the other. Okay. This is a great post, a great quote by J.R.R. Tolkien. And it says, "I wish it need not have happened in my time," said Frodo, So do I, said Gandalf, and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. What will we do with the time that has been given us? Will we continue to push forward false narratives, false history, false politics? Or will we take a stand and say, wait a minute, let me gather more and more information and truly question the information that has been spoon-fed to us since we were children? Because we understand that this is very, very important, a very, very important time in human history. And we understand that most of human history that has been told to us has been indeed a lie.
Over the years, I've surprised a lot of people. The biggest surprise is yet to come. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over the years, I've surprised a lot of people. The biggest surprise is yet to come.
The biggest surprise is yet to come. How long ago did Q seek out President Donald John Trump, or Donald Trump as the future president? Q said, wait until you learn who has been talking to you here. We are going to show you a new world. Those who are blind will soon see the light. Nice view up here. Biblical times, ascension, save the best for last, P. This particular author of this post believes that P may stand for the Palladians. I honestly don't know. But I will say this, that we have to question everything. Tonight's show theme is sometimes you can't tell the public the truth, you must show them. Q said this a handful of times since 2017. And this is something I've shared with you over and over and over again as to why we must be going through and living through the very difficult time that we are going through right now in human history. It has not been easy, my friends. You know that. We've all experienced great hardship through these times. We've seen the breakup of families, the breakup of relationships, the breakup of communities, the breakup of schools. We've seen the division, severe division in our country, in our world. But the division is not necessarily right and left. It is from good and evil, right and wrong. And we're seeing this, and it's becoming clearer and clearer every single day. And I want to thank my friend, Spiritual Street Fighter, for allowing me to use her incredible artwork into sending this message. And when you realize the sheer level of importance of this moment in time, I think it's very important that we look at the sheer ways in which President Trump has been targeted. Never surrender. We stand united with Trump, and never surrender, President Donald J. Trump. This was also spoken by the World War II, leader that many people will say that Trump is like Hitler, but he was more like the Churchill. And Churchill said, never, ever, ever quit. And President Trump said, never surrender. Soros has attacked him. The FBI, the fake news, indictment. Democrats, Antifa, indictment. Pedophiles, Marxists, communists, indictment. Fascists, swamp, HRC, deep state, rhinos, globalists, DOJ. They've all tried to stop this man. Why? I started following Donald John Trump and supporting Donald John Trump when I saw who his enemies were. And when I realized that his enemies were my enemies, I realized that he was the guy I needed to support. It was that simple, really. It really was that simple. And to me, it is that simple. This is an old, I'm a big fan of Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman, we lost far too young. And this is, and I'm a fan of Dennis Miller too, who is also, he's a conservative. And this was a great post. And I want to say this is when Dennis Miller had his show. What year was this? 1997.
A parody of what happens if immigration goes unchecked. What are your views on it personally?
On the film, Second Civil War? On immigration? Well, I am an immigrant. I came to this country in 1957 from a terrible hostile regime in Canada. But what's fascinating about this subject, and it's one of the things that's touched upon in the movie The Second Civil War, is that you cannot even discuss this subject without being considered a racist in this country. And the immigration policy in the United States is the most liberal in the world. 800,000 people a year enter the United States legally, 900,000, and maybe another 200,000 or 300,000 illegally. And no other country tolerates that kind of illegal immigration or that kind of mass influx through their borders. But it's only going to heat up because we're not discussing it. Do you know that in the next 5 years, over $1 billion a year in entitlements is going to be given through Social Security to foreigners who have immigrated to this country and not put so much as a dime into the system? Yeah, ouch.
It's going to cause a fucking riot, Phil.
Well, that's why I'm here today to talk about the new American Nazi Party. We're not just against gypsies and homosexuals anymore.
Ask, are there countries, I mean, can I walk into like Saddam Husseinville and just start setting up a discotheque or what? I mean,
not a chance. No other country. In Japan, they have a saying, which means, no, that means you don't set foot in my country, white devil, unless you buy a 50-inch television set. No, we're nutcases over here. We really are. How's this? You want to get pissed off? How's this for a law? A pregnant woman who sneaks into the United States and has a baby in this country, that child is automatically a U.S. citizen. How do you feel about that? Has all the entitlements that you have as a lifelong taxpayer. You know, that's no other country in the world has a policy like that.
Right.
Then there's what they call chain immigration, where when a family comes here from a foreign country, then they start bringing in grandma and grandpa and brother and sister, and they all go
I know how
on
that
Social
works.
Security. You know what it is, Dennis? The United States, as much as anything, the government of this country is a corporation that oversees a multiplicity of other corporations. And immigration, illegal and otherwise, is good for business. That's why it isn't stopped, in my opinion. It's because every immigrant buys gasoline, food, clothing, watches HBO. They are consumers. They pay sales tax, even if they don't necessarily pay income tax.
Right.
And they feed the system.
So it all becomes a bottom line thing.
I think so. It all becomes part of the big
Big machine.
The big machine.
Which dictates right now that I have to do the news of the week. Can you stick around while I do it?
Watch me.
Felipe Hartman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Phil.
So Phil Hartman got it in 1997, but we need politicians to get it. So let's listen to a very smart politician, Chuck Schumer, for example.
Thank the gentleman, salute him for his work on this, rise in support of the amendment. First of all, Social Security card is used from one end of America to the other as an identification card right now. Who are we kidding? If you want to pass a law and says it shouldn't be, I would ask the chairman and the distinguished minority member of the Social Security committee to pass that law. But let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card.
Which maybe we should demand for voting. I don't know. Call me crazy.
This is an anti-fraud amendment. All over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You know, folks, we need more senators like this young Chuck Schumer. What happened to Chuck Schumer between 1996 and today? Well, they realized that they were losing the vote of critical thinking individuals because critical thinkers can no longer vote for the far, 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 far left Democrat Party. So they had to import voters and give them benefits. Somalians, Middle Easterners, Mexicans, Venezuelans, Ecuadorians. Come on in. We'll pay you. We'll put you up. And as long as you vote for us democratically, I'm going to give you Stephen Miller for the next 7 minutes. Here you go.
There's been a paradigm in the Western Hemisphere in the last 14 months. There's been a paradigm shift under President Trump in the Western Hemisphere in the last 14 months. Some of that was touched on by the earlier speakers, but just to restate it, we are not going to cede an inch of territory in this hemisphere to our enemies or our adversaries. Our national security, our homeland security, the safety and well-being of our people begins at home, begins in our neighborhood, begins in our home region. And for too long, we have allowed foreign enemies, foreign adversaries, and enemy terrorist organizations to control territory and spaces in this hemisphere where they can project power, project threats, and directly threaten the lives of your citizens and our citizens. And so under the leadership of President Trump, we are using hard power, military power, lethal force to protect and defend the American homeland. Not a single one of your nations should tolerate the existence of a single square mile of territory that is under the control of any entity other than the sovereign governments of your country. The idea that we would have in this hemisphere area that are under the physical control of foreign terrorist organizations, paramilitary organizations, is completely unacceptable. The cartels that operate in this hemisphere are the ISIS and the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere, and should be treated just as brutally and just as ruthlessly as we treat those organizations. We have learned after decades of effort is that there's not a criminal justice solution to the cartel problem. There are elements of the problem that require a criminal justice solution, to be sure. But just as we fought Al-Qaeda and fought ISIS with the tip of a very lethal spear, the reason why this is a conference with military leadership and not a conference of lawyers is because these organizations can only be defeated with military power. And I see some heads nodding up front because they understand. You're dealing with a lot of lawyers in your own country, I'm sure. You have my permission not to listen to them. The key condition of human flourishing, of prosperity, is order and security. A country cannot pursue economic growth, cultural enrichment, art, architecture, education, science, if it doesn't have fundamental security first. And for too long, we've been caught in a vicious cycle in this hemisphere where countries from Mexico down to the tip of South America do not provide their citizens with basic physical security. So those citizens, in search of economic opportunity, illegally immigrate to the United States. They pay the smugglers, they pay the cartels, who then grow richer, who then go more powerful. And then your countries in turn become poor because you've lost your citizens, you've lost your human capital, you've lost your opportunities to develop and to grow. So you get poor, the cartels get more powerful, nothing changes, nothing improves. You have to break that cycle. You have to completely sever it. And that begins by dismantling these organizations that deal drugs, deal violence, assassinate, extort, blackmail, and also traffic illegally in human beings. That is a form of terrorism too. Illegal immigration facilitated by criminal networks is a form of terrorism. And those who are stealing your children and stealing your families and stealing your human capital are part of that terrorist continuum and should be thought of as such. It is not a victimless crime when people are paying human smuggling organizations, because that money then fuels assassinations, it fuels violence, it fuels instability, and it continues this cycle. For decades, a lot of organizations were sent to your countries. These are known as NGOs. I think you know the term, non-governmental organizations. And they gave you very, very bad advice for a very, very long time. And basically, they told you, in short, that you needed to be softer and gentler and nicer to the criminals, and that you had to demilitarize your approach and extend more rights and more opportunities to the people who are sabotaging and destroying your society. I would make the point to you, as others have pointed out before, including the president of El Salvador, that the West only achieved the place that it did in human history because it spent previous centuries eradicating the criminal elements within its territories. So the West that we came to know, that had the great music and architecture and science and the most powerful economy, it has spent centuries previous to that establishing order first, so that by the time you get, to say 18th century England, 19th century England, there have been centuries of previous history in which ruthless means were used to get rid of the people who were raping and murdering and defying established systems of order and justice. And then when people could live freely and peaceably, and children and families and women could be safe, then it became possible to pursue all of these higher elements of life. So when people who are coming to countries like yours that have had struggles and difficulties and pains and challenges, and they're telling you anything other than first and foremost, secure your countries and your territory, they're giving you not only terrible advice, but advice if someone had come to Europe Centuries ago, they have followed that advice. Europe would have never became the Europe that it eventually became. And the reason why many Western countries are struggling today is they've forgotten the eternal truth and wisdoms they once followed. And that's why here under President Trump in America, we are returning to those fundamental truths. We're returning to those fundamental principles. So I'll just close by saying that you will have in President Trump, in the White House, in the Department of War, the Department of State, and the whole of our government, unwavering support, unwavering commitment and fidelity in achieving this mission, which is very simply to eradicate the criminal cartels and terrorist organizations, to deprive them of control of weapons, spaces, institutions, and territory. And the human rights that we are going to protect are not of the savages that torture and rape and murder. The human rights that we are going to protect are of the peaceable citizens who have an absolute human right to live in physical safety and security every day of their lives. And in that mission, I promise you, we will be your closest partner. Thank you.
Stephen Miller rarely says something that isn't worth listening to, and I think it's very worthwhile listening to him. And this is what President Trump is doing is something that has been foretold to us by Q, which is why it's so important to follow people that are anons. And this is a liberal woman who is part of the problem in our country, probably the biggest threat to our country.
No hay ninguna mujer a la que Estados Unidos haya liberado con sus bombas y con sus agresiones ilegales. No ha sido así ni en Siria, ni en Irak, ni en el Líbano, ni en Afganistán. Tampoco lo va a ser en Irán. Estamos hartas de que se usen nuestros derechos.
She's basically saying that we do not want the U.S. Has not liberated, nor will it liberate any woman with its wars. Stop using our bodies and our rights. Meanwhile, these are the women in Iran that are doing the Trump dance, the YMCA, which, by the way, dancing is illegal in Iran for women. Not anymore. Look at this dude. Little mama. And let's not forget, my friends, that the YMCA dance, is it pointing us to Guantanamo Bay, where the military tribunals and the prison is on the former location of the YMCA. I want to take you to President Trump's post earlier today. March 7th, 2026, the United Kingdom, our once great ally, because he criticized them the other day in front of the German chancellor. And he said that they have been very uncooperative. Maybe the greatest of them all, once great, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember, we don't need people that join wars after we've already won. President Donald J. Trump. Okay. Now let me take you to, they won't be able to walk down the street. This is Starmer walking through London.
Shame on you.
Name on you. Why? Why are they saying this to Starmer? Why are they giving him a hard time? He's a good guy, isn't he? Well, he's giving prison sentences to people that are posting on social media. Meanwhile, he's allowing the rape gangs to go unpunished. Okay? Listen to this woman here.
Today, I received a message from someone inside of Iran that I'm going to share with you. She wrote, Azadeh, is this really what I'm seeing? The people who tortured me, the people who raped me, they are gone. But the world is grieving them.
Now this is in Iran, obviously, right? Hold on, let me put down this other video. This is in Iran that this woman is reading a letter from a woman in Iran because these women are getting raped. Why? Because it is a Muslim country. It is under Sharia law. Women are property. A woman who cries rape will be beaten and hung like that young girl, that 16-year-old girl. Think about it. 16-year-old girl receiving those lashes and eventually hung and killed for saying that she was raped. What's happening to the women in the UK? What's happening to the women in Sweden? What's happening to the women in Germany? What's happening to the women in France? They're getting raped and killed. Why? Because there are Muslims there that have been raised under Sharia law where this is quite acceptable.
What's happening? Please explain this to me. I'm so happy that she hasn't seen what you guys have done. How you have betrayed the Iranian people. How you were silent when the regime shut down the internet and killed tens of thousands of innocent protesters just wanting freedom. Shame on you. Shame on you for not standing with the Iranian people. Shame on you for standing behind the regime that is killing, torturing, raping innocent people. Shame on you for calling yourself a human rights activist.
And by the way, the UN, I have been saying for years, needs to be moved one
Today I
block
received the message
into the East River. They are absolutely worthless. They are absolutely worthless. And they are going bye-bye. The UN will not be around a year from now, 2 years from now. President Trump has replaced the UN with the Board of Peace. The topics we're covering tonight are not very funny, but it's nice to have them put into perspective by somebody who is.
Someone said to me recently, Andrew, if there was a war, would you fight in it? And I would. I mean, not for this country, but I would. We got no chance. We got no chance in a world war. No chance against the Russians with a military of conscripted Gen Z wet wipes. All the Russians would have to do is misgender them, and they'd all collapse and die of righteous indignation, wouldn't they? All the Russians would have to do is block the Wi-Fi signal on their smartphones and all surrender within half an hour with PTSD. I remember when I was very small and he was still alive, having a chat with my granddad, because my granddad fought in the Second World War, and I remember having a chat with him, and I said, "What was it like?" And he said, "Oh, it's chaos, horror, awful." I said, how did you get through it? And he said, "Well, we knew what we were fighting for, Andrew." I said, "Well, what was that?" "We were fighting so that one day you'd be able to post an unconventional opinion on Facebook." 6 police officers would turn up in a riot van in the middle of the night, drag you away, lock you in prison for 2 years. We knew what we were fighting for, what were we fighting for, Grandad? We were fighting so that the government could lock you in your home for 2 years under the false pretext of a virus that only really killed old people and fat bastards. Only let you out again if you agree to have an experimental vaccine that might possibly give you heart problems or turbo cancer. We knew. We knew what we were fighting for, Andrew. We knew. We were fighting so that one day you'd be able to get a greasy, tepid curry delivered to your front door by a third world child rapist on an unlicensed scooter. My all-new stand-up show, Andrew Lawrence, So Right It's Wrong, arrives in Gosport on the 10th of April.
Andrew Lawrence, my friends, bringing some comedy to this very, very dangerous, nefarious situation. If you're wondering why, speaking, he mentioned the CDC and he mentioned, locking us up. Let's go here. Let's go to this story.
I find information like this, for the vaccine. Paper's there and there's nothing printed on it. I find that very interesting, disheartening, disgusting, and lots of other words. But then it gets better. It just keeps, wait, there's more. It just keeps happening. The CDC redacts every single word of a 148-page study on a myocarditis after COVID vaccination. So I asked research to print the study for me. 148 pages. The entire thing is redacted. What good does a study do if there's nothing there? Then I want to know, wait, what might have been there that they needed to redact it? That's even scarier.
We're witnessing an active cover-up of a colossal consumer product safety debacle that is basically affecting the entire world. So in the United States, our CDC, National Institutes of Health, and the FDA are actively involved in a cover-up. And the same is occurring in the UK with the MHRA, Europe with European medicine agencies, and Australia with the Therapeutic Goods Administration. Something is going on that's very big. Each one of these companies that puts out a product has an obligation to produce 90 days of safety monitoring after their product comes out. It's a regulatory dossier. If somebody has a problem with the new product and they call the company like Pfizer, Pfizer has to write down what happened, and they have to collate that in a report and produce it and make it publicly available. When it came to 90 days with Pfizer, the first vaccine that came out, remember Pfizer was approved December 10th, 2020. Pfizer didn't produce a report. And then people started asking, well, what's happening with your vaccine? And Pfizer would not disclose what happened. And then it went to court. And the lawyer for the FDA stepped in and said they don't want to release Pfizer's dossier for 55 years. 55 years. And the plaintiff pushed. And finally, slowly, the Pfizer dossier came out. Pfizer recorded 1,223 deaths with their product within 90 days of release. People were calling Pfizer in desperation, watching their family members die after taking the vaccine. Pfizer recorded over 1,200 new adverse events, new problems that Dr. Bowden has talked to you about that we are grappling with the entire time. But the point is, our FDA worked to cover this up. The FDA should be regulating this company. FDA should have been having at least monthly meetings and fully disclosing what was going on with these novel vaccines, which are a genetic transfer technology platform.
This is very obvious to all of us now that we were played and we were manipulated. And not only that, but we have now seen the people that were a part of that manipulation. We see who was behind it. We see the people that were trying to gaslight us on this whole thing. And it was very, very ugly. And it was very detrimental to many people that were engaged in this process. And we're now awake to it. Let me share this with you.
So you think Gen X is unintentionally self-destructive? Well, bless your little historically illiterate heart. Gen X didn't trip and fall into dysfunction. We swan dived into it with a middle finger in the air and a Walkman blaring Metallica. We didn't accidentally become self-destructive. We chose chaos like it was a clearance item at Kmart. Blue light special. Half of us were raised by chain-smoking boomers and the other half by the battle-hardened silent generation, both of whom thought therapy was weakness and emotions were for sitcom characters. We self-soothed with sarcasm, sabotage, and cassette tapes rewound with pencils. You think this is accidental? No. This is precision-engineered nihilism with a touch of apathy and a dash of caffeine-induced rage. We're not the most unintentionally self-destructive generation. We are the most deliberately self-aware train wrecks you'll ever meet. We know the building is on fire because we lit the damn match, poured the gasoline, and are currently roasting marshmallows over the smoldering ruins of our expectations. But hey, thank you for your concern. Now go stare into a little ring light and tell TikTok how hard your day's been because someone used a period in the sentence.
Yeah, we need to step into our power as humanity, my friends. Speaking of stepping into power, supporting our humanity, I want to take us to the wheel. I am spinning a wheel tonight. The people that I would like to thank for actively engaging, actively sharing their energy through donation with me in order to support the energy that I bring to you. This exchange of energy is the thing that we must remember is so very vital for us as humanity to step into, because this is how we need to move forward, not to be, tracked, not to be monitored, not to be manipulated, not to be put into AI with all our information to guide us in certain directions. But to freely support those who support them with information, energy, guidance, insight into the happenings of the world. And I want to thank Heather Willard, Vicky Sorrells, Erica Cortez, Thomas Green, Phil Dans, Mary Bradley, Morgan Conklin, Helen Overton, John Valance Jr., Ernie Engel, L. Trench, Denise Steiger, Connie Corwell, Janice Hasselbush, Patricia Jacobs, DOT Truck Sales, CR Partners, Michelle Duzka, Gay Diedrich, Loretta Jean Box, Cynthia Latorno, Tracy Carrara, Erica Van Kirk, Cynthia Hale, Rosemary Henderson, Linda Prasnick, Edward Quinn, Steve Fothergill, Melissa Perme, Margaret Gatley, Julianne Vernig, Catherine Drexler, Linda Moon, Lindsay Heritage, and Tom from Texas. Folks, if you have donated between the last wheel spin and today's wheel spin, would you please let me know in the chat that I have somehow missed you? so that we do not miss you when we spin this wheel in a few short minutes. I thank you for your support. And if you do support in the next few minutes, I will make sure that you get on the wheel for today's spin. If not, you will go on the next wheel. This wheel is in support of my move. As you know, I have to change my home. I have to change my studio. It's a lot of time, a lot of effort, folks. You know what it's like to move. I don't need to tell you, but you are supporting my move. This week, March 11th is Wednesday, my birthday. We will be doing another spin for that. But if you want to support the work that I do here, I ask you to do so. And financially, if you are stressed, if you are in a bind, I do not want your money. I do not want you to put yourself in a worse situation. That's why I have given away every single minute of broadcasting on these platforms over 7 years, 1,600 shows. I have given it all away because information should not be kept behind a paywall, a Substack, a subscription. This information should flow freely to all human beings, and that is why I give it away, and that is why I will no longer, not no longer, but I have never considered charging for this information. I have set up snedheads.com as a social media platform that you can support for $17 a month if you would like to do that. It is an accountable social media website with your name, your picture, no tracking, no manipulation of your information. I'm not taking your child's first day of kindergarten picture or your grandchild's, graduation from school pictures and using them against you. This is a private social media site. It is a small town. It is I am asking you to consider the reach that you have on X, on TikTok, on YouTube, or wherever you post, Facebook, and the shadow banning, the censorship that you receive there. And I would ask you to consider the reach that you have of people, of your posts, of this huge sea of surveillance versus a post on Snedheads that would give you a much nicer group of people to communicate with, to share with. Kathy Drexler sharing the Sean Ryan show, sharing Baby Trump's Iran update, Baby Trump versus Khomeini operation. That's some great stuff. The shows that I show here, the research tools that we have here, Q Research, Q Alerts, QAg.news, QAnon.pub, Anon Tools, Capital Letter Counter, Grok, Ingersoll Lockwood, US Debt Clock, Gematria Calculator, Doge. What's happening in Doge? Estimated savings $215 billion. Amount saved per taxpayer $1335.40 is just an example. If you want to go to President Trump's truth feed, you can find it right here. You can click on it and you can go right there and you can see that. The United Kingdom post that I just shared with you, and I'm going to do a dive on that in a moment. But
For 47 years, the Iranian regime has regularly targeted and killed Americans. And while Democrats talked tough on Iran, they sought no action. In 2008, before becoming Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton said she would attack Iran if president.
If Iran were to launch a nuclear attack on Israel, what would our response be? And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them.
Of course, that never happened. She lost the nomination to Barack Obama, who instead sought to make a deal with Iran.
Over the years, Iran moved closer and closer to having the ability to build a nuclear weapon. As president, I decided that a strong, confident America could advance our national security by engaging directly with the Iranian government.
But a week after Obama said that, John Kerry admitted that the Iran nuclear deal would give money to terrorists.
Do you believe that any of that $55 billion ends up in the hands of terrorists?
I think that some of it will end up in the hands of the IRGC or of other entities, some of which are labeled terrorist.
Well, fast forward to 2022, and President Biden's press secretary said Iran was accelerating its nuclear program.
Iran has rapidly accelerated its nuclear program and reduced cooperation with international inspectors in non-performance of Iran nuclear deal commitments. Their breakout period is down from about a year, which is what we knew it was during the deal, to just a few weeks or less.
But all Biden said was don't. And a couple months later, Obama admitted he made mistakes with Iran by not helping activists on the ground more.
And in retrospect, I think that was a mistake. Every time we see a flash, a glimmer of hope, of people longing for freedom, I think we have to point it out. We have to shine a spotlight on it. We have to express some solidarity about it.
Well, now today, it's President Trump who sought action while Iran is trying to talk tough.
Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
And maybe he missed President Trump taking out the Ayatollah along with 49 others before taking out those counting votes for the next Ayatollah.
I showed you that last night. Auntie Honey, I've added you to the wheel. Thank you very much, my dear. I have not been able to check my P.O. box recently, but I know that you did. And also, Jeanette Sayer, thank you for giving me a heads up. I missed you as well, so my apologies on that. Thank you for letting me know about that. My friends, this is... And by the way, this is a information war more than it is a kinetic physical war, because the kinetic physical war will be over soon. The war that we are fighting and information we are still up against with a great many CIA Mockingbird media channels that that people are completely taken with and controlled by without even realizing it. My friends, this is very, very significant. And also Kathleen Bossy, thank you very much, who never misses a wheel spin. Thank you, Hunter, Kathleen. I appreciate you so much. My friends, let me spin the wheel. I'm going to close shop for the evening because we've been on for 2 hours, and I have to get some work done yet tonight because I have another move tomorrow. I'm trying to get out in the next 24 hours so that I can shift, but I will be back on most likely Tuesday evening. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And so yeah, we're going to do the wheel spin, my friends. And if you did not get on tonight, please know that I will get you on the next one. If this show, if my content, if my rants, if my information appeals to you and you believe that it could help others, would you do me a favor and please share it out, especially if this show is coming to you in a state of financial duress? How can you support this show? Thumbs up and share it out. Folks, if we don't, people are talking about the Californians ruining Texas because we're making Texas blue. Meanwhile, 17 million registered voters in Texas stayed home and did not vote in the primary. And I have one thing to say to those people, and I have one thing to say to the people who take and take and take and do not engage and do not actively participate in the shifting of this paradigm that has led us to our demise. Fuck you. That's all I got to say, because we've got no time for those who are sitting on their ass, not doing a fucking thing. And if the excuse to not do something is you don't have the money, find another way to contribute to this war, this information war, this absolute mindfuck of humanity. And get involved, get engaged, do something. People, are too fucking lazy to give a thumbs up to somebody that has just dropped information in their lap that guides them in a good direction in their life. And I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about others. And we wonder why we are inundated with these Israel shills, these anti-Trump TDSers that pretend to be awake but throw Trump under the bus at the first chance they get. And you wonder why we're getting all this different information. It's because those people are getting paid, and the people that are doing God's work and doing truth and holding people accountable are not getting paid, are not making the kind of money that these others are making. You need to understand that. We need to understand why we are in the place that we are in our world, and we have to take responsibility for that. All right, my friends, let's give the wheel a spin. And here we go. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Catherine, Linda Moon, Lindsay Heritage, Tom from Texas, Janet Sayer, and she was the one of the last ones on because she had to remind me that she had indeed donated. Jan Marie, thank you very much for your donation, your continued support of this Truthcast over years. Thank you very much. I love you. I am appreciative of you. And you have just won a free year on snedheads.com, soon to be the Rubicon with a Q.com. And I think the best social media model soon to be released that you will ever see. And it'll be your small town, beautiful space where you can go online, be invigorated versus being torn down, and also a t-shirt. Jeanette Sayer, congratulations. Fantastic. Couldn't have come to a better person. Thank you, all of you on the wheel who have donated, who continue to support the work that I do here. I love you all, and I am grateful. Please send your prayers, your support my way as I navigate the next few days of upheaval in my life. And much, much love to you all. And yeah. And Jan says, I'll take the shirt, but give the year to someone who can't. So somebody that does want to be a part of snedheads.com, please reach out to me. And thank you, Jan. That's very generous of you. And I really do appreciate you so much. So congratulations. Polar Bear Paws says, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Shed. We've enjoyed you, and we bless you in the next adventure with new dollars there. And so it is. See you in the new Shed, Dave. My friends, this beautiful wooden wall behind me that was put up by my landlord, Al, during COVID to do Zooms and so forth, has served us. This beautiful space, this beautiful home that I have been able to share with Jasper, with my daughter, with my ex, with friends. I am so grateful for it, for the sunrises, for the deer, for the squirrels, for the nature, for the serenity that it has brought me during a very difficult time over the past couple years of my life. It has been an incredible transitional space for me to be able to go inward, to meditate, to pray, to give thanks to my mother, my father, my brother, who are now passed, to my God, who has always provided for me, to my audience that have stuck with me and been with me for many, many years, and some new, some old. I am very grateful to you all. I'm grateful for this space. And I now say goodbye to this space. This is the last broadcast in this version of the Sned Shed, which began on the beaches of Malibu, Santa Monica, Topanga, California. Then went to my great hearth behind me with the salt lamp, with this salt lamp, and then to the Sned Shed in the shed outside of my home. I did the video that is now somewhat well known, called "Tyranny in the Storm," where I spoke about a coming pandemic and the coming forced vaccination in May of 2019, 8 months before COVID. And that was all from Topanga, that beautiful space that I lived there and raised our daughter, to my place in Austin, which was the last Sned Shed in the home that I shared with my ex and my daughter, to this space here. And I am grateful for all of those spaces. I'm grateful for all of the energy that was created in those spaces to do my best to awaken my fellow man to the indoctrination that has enslaved humanity for generations. And I thank you. I love you. Good night.